Hey guys, so I am back having conversations about youth ministry, and today I'm sitting with Father Carlos.
How you doing?
Yeah, so Father, just introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? All of that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my name is Father Carlos Germosen. I'm the parochial vicar here of Our Lady Mount Carmel here in the Bronx. This is going to be year 2 of Priesthood. And I'm just happy to be here. Happy to chat with you about youth ministry and about, where I've come from. Because I think youth ministry, if it wasn't for youth ministry, I wouldn't be here. Honestly.
That's good. I mean, I relate to that, and the people probably are tired of hearing me say that over and over again.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to hear because too many times we sit, and I know you know this, sitting in meetings, it's almost like this hopeless cry, like, what's happening with our young people and why and nothing is working. But then we see something worked.
Yeah.
Right? So what was that? Give us kind of that story and that background.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, so I started taking my faith seriously. I grew up in church. My dad was the music director. My grandfather's a deacon.
Okay.
My uncle, my aunt, my mom, they're all involved in church, and I was always in church, right? And then one youth group was like popping out. I wanted to join, and so 8th grade, like as soon as I could, like I joined, and I started going. And I think since then, like I've made some of my closest friends, and I got to know my pastor, who we know as Bishop J. Back then, I knew him as just Father. So, and he still is, he still is a father, and now brother priest. And so just within those interactions in youth group, and then just his example of authenticity, that led me to kind of just want, like, hey, I want to be like him. And I think that's possible. So I started to kind of like explore priesthood. And then as the years went on, I wanted to do my own thing. I found my girlfriend at that time. I found, just my circle of friends. But then God kept calling me back. And it was funny because as I continued to grow and just go to the meetings, then I started to be involved with music ministry, with planning nights, and all that stuff. And then, then it was my time to leave and go to seminary. And then coming back, like it just, I don't know, it feels natural. It just feels like, because I'm the young priest, okay, you go.
And that's typically, I think, what happens.
Yeah, but like it's not something like I know some guys would probably like, oh, okay, but it was just a natural fit. Like I relate the most to them, and as soon as I got here, especially, like as soon as I got here, the first mass, like the altar servers, the youth group, like they gravitated, and I can't say I did anything special or like I could switch the magic button and then like boom, all the other kids are wanting to go with Father or wanted to talk with him, but it just happened.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think in general, people are naturally drawn to certain people or certain personalities. That's like a natural, just human part, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a few things I want to unpack in that story. I'm gonna back up because I want to talk about the priesthood thing in a minute. But
yeah, sure.
Let's back up because I think looking back, your family was involved, right? So there's multiple layers of, because I think I heard this study years ago, and I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but there's a certain amount of people, I want to say it's about 7 people that have influence on a young person's life. And so it was like a study that was being done for like education, and even faith and all these things. And so like some people have that one strong, but if it's only that one strong, it's a lot harder. Right. So give me a little bit of that. Like you just told me, music ministry at the parish and involved this way, that way. Like talk to me about that family dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, my family, since I was born, like out the womb, has been my only experience, at least faith-wise, has just been a strong, like, commitment to the faith, commitment to service in the church. So, I'm gonna go back to just my grandparents on both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side. On my mom's side, my grandfather's a permanent deacon and has been a deacon now for 35 plus years. But even still, as a kid, I just always remember his patience and his humility and his reverence, right? For every situation, he always spoke in like, in a low voice, was very loving and caring. And then on my dad's side, my grandmother always prayed the rosary, always, always, without fail.
Okay, is that grandma? Was doing
Yeah, it's all.
and I said
No, but as a strong woman of faith, she was funny. God rest her. She was funny, um, and yeah, it was just a strong, like, just those seeds of faith, right? And 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 it's a beautiful testimony too, because they didn't just stay at that level, but they continued to grow. And so my dad, same thing, like, because my grandmother always prayed the rosary, like, I would always find him when he wasn't working on his days off in the morning. First thing he did was like go to our little picture of the Sacred Heart, and he'd be praying the rosary. And when the dog came in the family, he'd be carrying the dog and carrying the rosary.
Dog was praying the rosary. Dogs was praying.
Exactly. And it's just been beautiful to see how, like, because, like, I think I'm pretty sure, like, we're not meant to just stay at a certain level. And as we continue to live and experience the faith, we continue to grow, right? And so I've seen that grow both in my mom and my dad and my grandparents, just all my family members.
That's good.
So, like, those, like, having that environment as a young kid, like, helped me to know, like, okay, this isn't just we're going through the motions sort of thing. Even though, if, like, at a certain point, like, I wanted just to, okay, I'll just check off the box, but, like, there's just so much more. And that's what I remember, I guess. If I can put it in one sentence, that's what I remember, at least faith-wise, with my family. What that upbringing was like.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's really good. Especially the part of, like, because I heard this story recently, and I thought this was kind of crazy, right? It was, and I won't name names to kind of keep anonymity, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there you go. But I basically it was Catholic school, right? And they were having a conversation with one of the alumni, and the father had come and extra, and the father came in complaining, saying, I spent all this money on Catholic school, and you're not even practicing your faith now.
No comment.
Hold up, wait. The kid then, or I'm saying kid, but he's a young adult now, then turns to the father and goes, but you don't practice your faith. He goes, but that is not the point. I paid for you. And so, like, there's a different, unique thing I'm hearing in your story is, not only was there, the investment of time, there was also, like, a personal commitment to the faith and the growth in the faith. And watching that over time, I think, has an impact to people.
Yeah, and just even now as a priest, and as a priest of the family, right? Seeing that growth, that personal commitment is edifying for me. Like, it helps me grow. And, like, the classic joke that I have with my parents is like, okay, my dad always calls me father. And I'm like, yo, dad, like, I'm your son. Like, relax. And he was like, okay, padre. But it's true, because there's a certain sort of, like, I don't know, I think you guys touched upon it in the family episode about, that dynamic of, sometimes some parents just want to hand off the authority to someone else to do the work of raising their kids in the faith. But what kids want is, like, for them to walk with them instead of just, I think the dynamic is shifting into where we thought, like, okay, we have to beat the faith into people or just, like, drill it into them, like, this is what you got to do. And instead, what is bearing a lot more fruit is saying, like, hey, I don't know all this stuff, and I'm still struggling in a way, but I'm gonna walk with you, and let's figure it out together. Right. That bears a lot more fruit, and it has a deeper effect than just, like, you got to go to church. Why? Because I said so. Like, that doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
And and I can tell you the amount of young people who are, like, bringing their parents back to church and are struggling because they're saying, like, I have one young person, I can tell you, came to me in tears. She said, and backstory, like I witnessed their parents' marriage in church. And the reason why they got married in church was when I sat them down, they're like, yeah, my kids, they said, like, what are you doing? And like they said, they're preparing for the sacraments, and they're like, but you're not receiving communion. Like, what's going on? And so, and it was a beautiful moment, and it was a beautiful day to witness to their marriage. But, the daughter comes to me and says, Father, my dad doesn't want to go to confession. And they're married, and he can. So, like, why? And trying to figure it out. She's struggling, right? And so, just that yearning just to be accompanied instead of like just being pointed in the right direction. It's like we walk with them to show them that it's possible and that it's not like, and even if we do struggle, that we're struggling together, and that's okay. Rather than this is the faith, figure it out.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, so okay, what we're saying here is that young people, or even people, because now we're even moving to family ministry, and the parents need to be surrounded and embraced by a community that supports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the most important thing. And like in my year and eight months as a priest or whatever, and what I've learned so far from good holy priests and good pastors is that, like, you need to build a community. We can have worship sites. We can have houses of worship, but we need to have a community behind it. We need to be a community that worships. Because if we're just a house of worship, then like, okay, you come in and get baptized and you're gone. Or you come in and get confirmed and you're gone. But a community supports you. And it's not just like, again, it's not just, here's the faith, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and then you're good. It's like, no, okay, these are the laws of Holy Mother Church, and this is what, Holy Mother Church invites us to do, but let's figure it out together, and let's do it together, rather than, try to struggle individually. Like, let's struggle together, because, I think, as the prophet J. Cole says, there's beauty in the struggle.
Ugliness in the success. Exactly. Listen to my words, my signal of distress, right? And because and that's good too. I actually shared, I think it was yesterday. Now that I think about it, I saw something that was like, when we say community, we mean true community, not just people in the pews. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I saw something along the lines that was like, just because a church is large doesn't mean it's thriving, or doesn't mean that it's alive. And it was like an analogy. It might just be swollen, right? Like, and that could be the case in some areas, but that's not what I'm hearing. One in your own story, and what's happening even in the ministry that you're a part of, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, let's talk about the surrounding things. So okay, you had it at home, literally going back, grandparents, parents, everybody. Then you have the support by the priests, right? And this relationship that's built there. But then you enter into a community, the youth group, and something builds there. So walk me through that time, and what was it? What was the attraction? What kept you going? All of those little things.
Yeah, I think at some point as a kid, as an 8th grader, like, I just longed to belong. And once I found like good friends, like I'm not saying like, acquaintances, like just hanging out, but like Friday, I always look forward to Friday night, because Friday night, we would just learn something new, or I was just gonna hang out with my friends. And yeah, it just became a place to hang out and belong, right? And, and backstory. So I went to public school, never went to Catholic school. Mm-hmm. My only experience of Catholic school technically was going to college when I went to Fordham.
Okay.
And then I taught in a Catholic school as a seminarian. And I told my friends what I said, I've never been in a Catholic school, and she couldn't believe. But yeah, and so being like even now, but just back then when I was in high school, being a practicing Catholic was sort of somewhat of a rarity. And people knew like I was, the Jesus freak or whatever. And like I wore all my t-shirts and stuff like that. And so, like, not to say that I didn't, and I had my circle of friends in school, and I'm very grateful for them, and they're cherished. But like, it was different, and so, instead of being in public school where I was not like on my own, but like I was kind of different. It was a different way of thinking and practicing, and I was still growing, and it allowed me to kind of almost bridge the gap or practice bridging the gap between like just being in the Catholic bubble and being in the public school bubble, but like bridging the two.
Right.
But yeah, so like just having the support at church helped me to kind of grow individually and humanly. And so like that's what kept me, kept bringing me back. Like I had that support. So like if I was struggling with something, or I just wanted to see my good friend who like knew what I was going through and knew how to navigate, because they also like that. I think that was the beauty too. Like it wasn't just all of us. I was like the only public school kid, or there was only like a group of people from public school. Like we all came from public schools, and there was probably like maybe one or two that went to a Catholic school. Yeah. But that was it. And like, so it was almost like, like it's funny. Like I don't know why the image of the 72 being sent out, comes to mind. Like, we come, get formed, and then we're sent out.
Right.
And we're being like Christ-like to other people. And then we come back, learn together, and go back out again.
Right. No, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I'm always stirring a pot in controversy, but this was coming to mind is I've been a part of many conversations of sometimes it's the priest, sometimes it's the different servers that are involved, sometimes it's adult volunteers, whoever it may be, that is fearful of that intermingling that you just talked about in that youth ministry.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those things that like, yeah, it gets to me quite a bit.
Yeah. I relate because, honestly, and I thank God that like, both of my younger brothers, and I love them very much. They're great. They both went to Stephanet. I'm the only oddball that went to public school the entire life. But there's something about just being in a mix of other people who don't necessarily share the same belief, who probably don't even believe at all, but are still your friend, or we still hang out just because we hang out. We're in the same class, and it's not forced, like that I said, like, okay, now you got to come to church or whatever.
Right.
Or it's they know what I'm about, but we still talk. There's still love there. I think that just allows you to have. I think trains you to have civil conversations with other people, and
that's big.
Yeah, and it trains you just to be normal, and just not to think like, okay, like I'm only gonna keep my mindset just in here. Like, no, open your eyes to a bigger picture of what people are going through, and you can understand. And then like you just know like how to be civil and how to talk, and like learn to agree to disagree, and just say, hey, like we may be on two totally opposite sides of the whatever spectrum, but you're in my class and we're hanging out. We got to do a project together, or we sit together at lunch. Let's talk. Like, what's going on? And that's it. And that's how bridges are formed.
And what I mean specifically, what I'm saying, because I agree with what you're saying, but what I mean is the intermingling at the youth group, right? Unfortunately, sometimes, and even some things that started well and started intermingling, like there's this fear that comes, like, oh, if we let the outside kids or the ones that could be on the streets or the ones that could be involved, like that fear becomes a stumbling block. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, so you started talking about like sort of the lost causes.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think we shouldn't be afraid. I think when we're afraid, like we just prevent God from surprising us.
That's good.
And
you can't control God.
No, you can't
control God.
Exactly. And
yes.
And funny enough, like even if we are afraid, like God still manages to break through, and it's just like, come on, like I'm God. And and a lot of beautiful things can happen if you just allow that intermingling to happen, and in an appropriate setting. Like I think it's all about like creating the environment so that the intermingling isn't like seen as sort of like isn't seen on both extremes as like, oh my gosh, we should never let this happen, or like, you know, like we're forcing this thing to happen. Like it should just come naturally.
Exactly.
And when it comes naturally, and like you allow people to interact, and I've seen this happen, I think more like in small group discussions, like not like just big group hanging out, everyone's like in their own friend circle, but like when we break the kids up into groups and we just talk about like, and just ask questions, because I think, and it's one of the more practical ways that we can foster that intermingling, because you can be surprised at what the kids pay attention to and what the kids are absorbing, and just seeing how God is working in their life. When we don't allow that to happen because I guess we fear a certain opinion or a certain perspective, then, you know, I think we're putting a hindrance. Like you said, it's a stumbling block.
Well, I saw this recently happen at a young adult group where what you said, organically and naturally happened. So there was one that was talking about like they went to, they were going to take a yoga class or something, right? And then something happened, they got canceled. They wanted to doing some other like fitness workout or whatever, right? And this is a young adult who genuinely didn't know the dangers, harm, whatever, from a spiritual sense. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'll just wait. I'm just listen. And the other one's just like, hey, isn't that? And it just naturally, and they were like, oh, really? And it opened up the conversation in an organic way that then that person was open to, oh, okay, this is what the church teaches about this. Oh, okay, man, I need to research this. Can you send me some stuff? Like sometimes like allowing the Holy Spirit to work in those spaces and not feeling like we got to like dictate every moment of it. Yeah.
Well, it's like the same thing with like, I guess you can relate it to being like have helicopter parents, like like and your dad, you know, like so there's a certain point you want to like make sure that are they all right, like everybody's okay, but like just let them rock and they'll figure it out, and then and it's the same thing with ministry and just young adult ministry, youth ministry, family ministry. It's like let them rock, they'll figure it out. And if they need like a little nudge in a certain direction, then like you just, you know, like just point and that's it, instead of just like, okay, no, this is what you got to do. And
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because even the story you share, like I know myself, I tend to be way more graceful with youth and young adults. When I talk to adults, I'm like, y'all get to go. Right? I think that's why the Holy Spirit doesn't have me. The Father said, no, you will not do adult ministry yet because you're going to be too harsh on the adults. Because I have a less tolerance for like, it's like you should know better, but then they are human. And so figuring that whole dynamic out.
yeah, that's something that I've come to know. This is my first time teaching, preparing people for sacraments this year. And it's like it's a learning curve. It's hard because like you come in, especially as a young person who has like been around people who have always been active in church and like do know, and then you come to, you know, a group of people who come from like totally, and it's beautiful how God works, like to bring everybody together for like a preparation for the sacraments, like people who were Muslim, people who came from no religion or agnostic, people who are Catholic and kind of just like didn't finish their initiation. And that you should know mentality like begins to break down when you just interact with people. And like, and the same thing with I think just across the board, like, but especially in youth ministry, young adult ministry, like, I think the older we get, like, you know, sometimes we tend to like pull, oh, you should know this, like, because I knew this as a kid, so like you should know it.
You're right.
And it's like, well, no, like everyone's doing the best they can, and then you just meet, and the same way that Jesus comes and meets us where we're at, like, you just bring, and we just like meet him where that and like guide him in the right direction.
Right.
And just it like till the seed and give him like stuff to chew on, milk and honey when it's necessary, and then like step back,
Let everything else beat itself out. Yeah. That's good. Thinking about all of that, again, I see a recurring theme again about the community, but let's talk about the priesthood specifically. Sure, a bit. One, because you said something in the beginning of this conversation about like there was just an attraction to the priesthood because of how you saw it modeled, right? And I think that's a healthy thing. We need to see more of that. And I've been a part of enough ministries where I've seen both. I've seen priests that are completely not involved, and then priests that are kind of helicopter parents, like we were kind of explaining here.
Yeah.
And there's a healthy middle ground, and like, yeah, just talk through, your relationship, your thought process, even stories you've seen, all of that.
Well, one, the priest was always present, or as present as they could be. And so even when they weren't there, like when they did show up, like it was a joy. Like, oh, Father JC, like go. And so what I remember like vividly is like, as the time went on, like every time that he had a talk or every time that he was just there was like a line of people who wanted to talk to the priest, right? Like, confession, just a question, confession. And so it's actually my kids know this is a joke. Like I always carry, let me see if I got it. Yeah, I do. I always carry my confession still with me. And it's something I learned from Father Jake because, he was, and so my joke is with the kids, like, I'm always strapped. So like every time every time my kids know, like, I see them acting up, I just pull it out and be like, you want to go? But like it's those things stick. Like knowing like, okay, every time I see Father, I can ask him to go to confession. Or every time I see Father, I can ask him a question, or he's just there. And that sort of, I think opened the doors to say like, okay, this is something that I can see myself doing, and that authenticity of not just being like, the helicopter parent, not being totally involved, but just, just being there. Kind of open the door and say like, okay, yeah, I can do this, or I want to do this. This is something I'm attracted to. And it's something that I try to emulate here with my youth ministry here. Just like, be there, like no matter what, if I can, barring like other meetings or commitments, but just to be there, hang out, say hi to the kids.
What are some dynamics you think help that to work, right? Because again, like I said, there's the opposite. Either because there's moments where you had an encounter moment, it's like, man, I wish I could bring this kid to the sacrament, but you can't because there's no one available or whatever. And then there's other ones where it's just like there seems to be a straight. What are some things you think help that dynamic? One with the kids, but even like with the ministry team and the others that are there.
I'm not sure. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, like what helps that dynamic? Because again, okay, let's just say, okay, so again, let's use the first example. Like, man, I want to, but Father never makes himself available. Like, what could help bridge that? Let's just break it into two parts. Let's start with that one on that extreme first.
Okay, so no, like the Father's never around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess what could help bridge the gap is just showing up. Like, I know Bishop Walsh, he confirmed me, and he's a very dear friend and priest. He told me once about like the importance of the ministry of hanging out or wasting time, being furniture, right? And
Being furniture, that's the first time I've heard of that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like, and I've heard this from other priests and who are high school chaplains, and like, the majority of the first couple months, years as chaplain, like you're being furniture, and so you just know like you're there, and once the kids know like with consistency that you're there always at a certain time, then they'll like start to make their way, like it's almost just like being available. And so you don't necessarily have to like, because every priest is different. Like it'd be unrealistic to say, okay, every priest has to do this, and that. Like every priest has different priorities, different talents, different gifts.
Right, exactly.
But I think one way to open the door is just to be around, and just like, even if you're just standing in the back and just watching, waiting, you talk with a couple of kids, but you're just there and you're saying hi and goodbye. That has an effect. And then it starts with, I think, and this is just me looking sort of the future, like, Father, can I ask you a question? It could be like a stupid question, but like, yeah, sure. One question, and then it could be serious and like, Father, I really need to talk. Like that kind of opens the door to saying like, okay, father may not say a lot of stuff, but he's there.
Mhm.
So maybe he might be, someone I could talk to about X, Y, and Z.
And with that, so because chaplain, these are all different dynamics, right? Youth ministry is happening in all these spaces. Right? It's happening in the religious ed classroom. It's happening with the altar service. It's happening in the Catholic school. It's happening at youth group nights, right? So, would that be? Because as I'm doing this, I've been collecting stories. Also,
Right.
Some of these have happened on camera. Some of these have behind the scenes, right? But I'm just using an example of like they ask for a high school chaplain, and then they only bring them in when it's mass time, like, and not at other moments or other ceremonies. Would that be that's something maybe the administration or those who are in charge need to open up on that side about?
Yeah, and that's like a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But I think this is just because shed light on like kind of the broader picture of like.
Yeah, no, it's important like that kids know that father's job isn't only to celebrate mass, or like father's job isn't only the sacrament. Like father is father, and so in order to establish that and to bring that to light, then like father needs to be present. To the best that he can. Like we're not going to say like like, okay, father, you have to commit like to like this that goes beyond your capabilities and schedule. It's like, okay, meet father where he's at too,
That's the
and that way we can like serve both. Because our lives are not our own, but at the same time we're still human, and the body takes a toll, and we get tired. And so sometimes but even like if it's the only thing that we can do is just stand at the door and say hi, say hello, and say goodbye, that is worth its weight in gold.
So okay, now let's use the opposite spectrum, right? So now, father's hovering over. Y'all can't make a decision without they're running through them like that. I think again, what we're saying is a healthy communication with father and figure that out. But now it's like, I have to know, and before you move, I need every single step of the process, and there's not a level of like, you can have creative freedom in creating some of these spaces for the young people. Yeah, what could be some things that help in that situation?
Yeah, and I guess I can speak to the priest side of this, and my own, and I'll be vulnerable. Like there's some times where like I have to hold myself back because, especially because of my experience of being in youth group and like experiencing and receiving wonderful things from my youth group, like, and I wanted to share the same thing. And then, there's probably like a desire that like, oh, well, I want to do what we did in youth group because I know that's best. Right. And so I'm going to make my team do what I. Right. No, it's just like, hold on. Like, I have to realize, like, if I'm doing the math right, there's about like 14 years between me and the kids. That's a long time and a lot of different experiences that the kids have had. And like, we're not even talking about COVID and the lockdown. Right. So like, that's just a lot of years of experience that are just totally different. And it'd be unrealistic for me, father, to impose that vision on the youth group and on the teens. Like it's sort of like, it's a good reality check to know like people that my youngest brother's age are like helping out and volunteering. And so the way that I relate to my younger brothers, is the same way that I have to relate in a fatherly way to my team and say like, okay, and understand where they're coming from. And so to avoid, I guess, control, like you have to like allow the Holy Spirit to just hold you back, and just like in the same way, let God surprise you. Because, and I give you personal testimony, right? Like we have had in our youth ministry here, we've had 3 retreats, like a second stage, a first stage for high school, and a first stage for middle school, right? Led by people on our team who probably have never led a retreat or have never led a retreat. And I'm thinking like, oh, okay, should be interesting. And what I saw, and I will tell them to this day. So if you're watching and you know who you are, and I've told them, I said, like, God has so much potential for you, and you have so much potential. to avoid, to be a helicopter priest, a helicopter father, is to close the vision and saying like, I want you to execute what I want. And it's not allowing you to see the potential that has come about through these beautiful experiences at retreat and youth group, to see how God is working. And so like you understand your role, not as a helicopter, but just like as like a lighthouse, just saying like, okay,
That's a good way to put it.
and just, you know, you need a reference point. You know, you talk to me and we can refocus the vision, right? We need to just calm down. We need to take a break. Like, let's take a break. Let's pray together. Let's be formed. Let's read, right? And
Well, I think even when you say what you're saying, I think that extends beyond the priest. At least that thought, because again, enough experiences in different parishes, different communities, different everything, right? Sometimes even adult volunteers that have been around for a while and we used to do this, and it needs to show up this way, and so that can be a couple of different ways.
yeah. And I guess in the same way, right? Like when Father leads by example, I say, okay, well, Father, you know, we look to Father as being in charge, right? But if Father is like, you know, letting the kids take agency and guiding them in the right direction, and then doing the same with the other adult volunteers who's been there, that begins like a culture shift. I think, like where it's not so much like, oh, okay, well, we used to do this. Like, well, like those are good ideas in the past, and they can inform what we do now. But let's not just stick to what we've done. Let's like think outside the box.
Yeah, it's allowing the spirit of creativity to flow in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think, and then you just like encourage them to say like, hey, like okay, this is nice. This is like not to, because some things I think we often do when it comes to like with like those adult volunteers who have been here for years and want to stick to it, is that we automatically bash or just enthrone. It's two extremes. We either bash what we used to do, or we enthrone it as the only possible thing. And said, no, let's take what worked and what didn't work, like, and evaluate it, and like, let's see what we can.
Right. There needs to be some clear ways of evaluating too.
Exactly.
Right. So like, how have we delivered messages in the past? Okay, I'm gonna jump to, because it's funny. I'm hearing things here. So this is the thing of what I'm also developing. Right. Is like, I mean, you've heard this now, right? Like these 5 M's: there's the message, the music, the meeting space, the members, the mission, etc. And I didn't intend for this conversation, but I feel like we focused a lot on the members. So that means this is the pastor, this is the parochial vicar, this is the family that's involved. These are the volunteers, right? But even in the messaging and all of that, like, is there a clear way of evaluating how well are we performing in all these areas? And how can we think about how to increase them? And how can we be honest with the things we're being good with and the things we're not doing so good with? And all of that.
Yeah. And it's I think there's a certain measure of like humility. Like, and it's hard. There's a certain measure of humility that we need to have in order to say, okay, like, it's not our work. Like, one, it's God's work. At the end of the day, God's in control.
Two, they're God's kids before they're
exactly. Right. And two, like, we're doing the best that we can, and sometimes like the best that we can might not look the same every other day, right? Like the best that we can might be just popping up and just being there. Sometimes the best that we can is like, being Energizer Bunny and we're running from place to place. But like, to always acknowledge that we're doing the best that we can and to see where we grow. Like, you mentioned like, what are effective ways of evaluating? Like something that we do when we meet as a team after every night, we talk about like highs and lows, right? And usually like, okay, what's the high, what's the low? But I remember, and thank God we have, seminarians from the Jesuit order, the Jesuit scholastics who come and collaborate, right? That's part of their apostolate. And one of them said like, I want to refocus our low, instead of looking at it as a low, but looking at something we can grow in. Because if we look at it, things as just a low, then it's just like, okay, this is bad.
Yeah.
It's like, well, like there's always opportunity for growth.
Right.
Like where are some things that we can grow in? And when we frame it that way, then it gives I think it gives like the team members, whether they're older adults or young adults, they're like fresh into college and helping out. Then it's like, okay, like this happened and it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Right. Because again, and I think this is a bigger conversation where we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves about the work that we're doing. And it's like, one, it's God's work, and two, like, we're doing the best that you can. So let's see what areas can we grow in, and that they don't just stay as like, oh, this never worked, this will never work, like it's bad, boo, and they say, okay, this happened, let's see where we can grow from it.
Right.
Or let's see where God is leading us through it.
Right. No, that's good. You have any other major thoughts? We've kind of been going for a while, and it's like we kind of went in one direction, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I just can't understate like enough the value of just having the priest present. Like, I don't know, it's something that's been vital for me, because like now I'm getting to the point, and this is my first year here. Like now I'm getting to the point where like I see my youth group kids on the street, where, yo, what up, Father? Right? Oh, that's Father. And so, and it's always a joy. Like I kind of chuckle in the back of my head when like I hear them whispering, like, oh, yo, that's the priest. Yeah. But like you make that connection where like you bring the faith down to their level and say, okay, no, like Father's with us. Father hangs out with us. Father's present. And that opens the doors to so many other opportunities. And I think it's just beautiful. It's beautiful work to see. And I think we shouldn't be afraid of, sacrificing that time. Like when we make that just small little investment in whatever way we can, like with our own personalities and our own talents, our own gifts, that I think it bears a lot of fruit. Like, and it's just a matter of saying yes.
Oh, that's good. Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. You've given me even other stuff that I'm thinking about. Every time I come to one of these conversations, there's like, because they're long, because there's similarities and then there's differences that happen in places. But I think even some of these are like helping evaluate certain things that are going on, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's also another healthy way of that's not stated is how much you having conversations with people that are not a part of your ministry, because then you can get new perspectives and new ideas and new testimonies and new glory stories, like, right? Like, all of that is just kind of weigh against what's going on.
Yeah, I think that, we're all in this together. Like we're on my first pastor told me, like, sometimes we might feel like a certain competition between other ministries or other groups or whatever, fill in the blank. And he said, we're on the same team. Like, so we're all fighting together and we're all walking together. We're all struggling together. We're all rejoicing together. So, and then when you focus on that and then allow other voices to come in and say like, and like, I thank God like that we have good parents and great moms, like second moms and third moms who like, the kids even see as like their spiritual moms or spiritual dads, like that just outside that sort of eliminates the possibility for just bubbles. Like we have our bubble, sure, and we have our space, but like it's not impenetrable.
Right.
We can allow other people to hop in. We have outside help. We have other support. And that like we can support other people too. So it's not just, and I think it goes back to what you were saying about community, right? And about the parish being a community. Like it's one parish. It's not just one church with different little like.
That's another problem in itself. I've seen territory wars between parish groups, and that needs to be broken. Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I like at a certain point, like that's natural. Like, like we're fighting over the parish calendar. Or like, well, we reserve the space, or we reserve this, and it's just like, okay, like, and those things will happen, and that's humanity, right? But at the end of the day, like those bonds that we know that okay, we can go support X, Y, and Z, or like use an example, like next week's Holy Week, right? And we have Holy Thursday, and we have the beautiful tradition where we keep vigil with Jesus. on Holy Thursday. Every group has an hour, and we're all going to be in the church with Jesus for an hour or so when we're leading like a period of prayer, right? And it's all of us working together. And it's not just like, okay, this is my hour and that's it. And then like, I'm only responsible for this hour. It's like, no, we're all in this together. We're all praying together. We're all supporting each other.
Right.
Beautiful.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, that's all for me. At least in this, we could probably do a part 2, part 3, part 5. You know, but yeah, if you guys pray for Father Carlos, pray this year, Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And yeah, I can go like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. Go check out the website as we have these conversations about youth ministry. Thank y'all. God bless. Peace.